Hi guys, Frankie V from Frozen Sand with a long overdue update episode of Working with Power Tools, which is an effort on my part just to kind of keep our band of urban terrorists up to date as to that indeed the development of urban terror from or should I say, the conversion of urban terror from the Intech 3 engine over to the Unreal 4 engine is indeed moving forward and progressing, even though at a slow pace, and that people haven't disappeared off the planet Earth as to this ongoing effort, shall we say. So, news fit to print is obviously is something that's difficult to come up with as part of any kind of development as to what somebody might find interesting, and of course, not so much interesting that I get accused of rambling on from time to time. So if this is if you're into the rambling, of course, please make your make your intentions known by throwing some comments in the comment section down below. Otherwise, I'll try to stick to directly to the point of it all, as to something that as to doing the basic promo kind of stuff. So in this case, newsworthy to fit print is that we've decided to option Daz Studio as part of our preferred application pipeline as to usability in Unreal 4, and actually gone out and purchased a indie license for, which is no big deal because it's we're putting out a free to play game, which means that we can buy the low cost version of the license, which I'm not too sure how much it cost us now. I think we got into it for $300 with discount. It's been on sale for $100, which we kind of missed out on. We should have grabbed it then, but we hadn't really decided to commit to it just yet, due to the fact that getting anything out of Daz Studio, even into the Unreal 4 engine, was rather problematic. It didn't have a point A to point B type of workflow without a stop over into 3ds Max beforehand to correct some of the waiting issues that was included as part of the export. So you would bring a model from Daz Studio into Unreal 4, which is pretty amazing in itself, because most engines can have a hard time parsing high fidelity assets. I'm pretty sure there's more than a few people out there that had tried to do this kind of stuff in say, Unity, only to run into the 64K model limit. I don't know if it's still the case, because it's been a long time since I looked at it. But the last time I tried, can't do it. Which is something that the Daz community has always tried to attempt to do in the first place. So a shout out to anybody who's a fan of Daz Studio, as I am. Yes, you can now start pumping stuff out of Daz Studio into Unreal 4, and now we're going to expect that there will be some animation packages made shortly that will allow you to actually run around, if you don't want to mess around with retargeting. That allow you to have your favorite character run around from Daz inside of Unreal 4. But that's neither here nor there. As our intent and purpose, of course, is to use it as an application to help us with our character development pipeline by using the Genesis 3 framework and our ability to use the Daz marketplace now as a secondary resource as to usability for Daz originals in particular, has only extended is an extension to our usability of assets made available directly on the Epic marketplace. So in this case, for example, we now have hair that is not available by Epic of a fidelity that is difficult to achieve by means of sweat equity, which I spent $1.25, and today I have hair that is usable if we wish. And then worry about performance issues down the road as Unreal 4 once again does its thing to improve over time, that takes care of the problems for us. Particularly in the area of performance issues that were dealt with manually, that now seems to be in the correct direction of letting the engine do the work for you. In particular, I'm mentioning the LOD feature for static meshes in .14. So got to kind of assume that they're going to be doing things for static meshes in the future as well. So that's it pays to just kind of wait. And obviously now we can start looking at different ways of being able to build frameworks that makes it easier for our content creators to actually put the stuff that they want into the engine in an orderly fashion, with the ultimate goal, of course, to make it usable for the purpose of running and players running around and gunning. And of course, making it easier to add additional characters ongoing. So I think that's the kind of finishes us off here as far as what we're actually our intention was for purchasing and licensing in the first place. It's simply a tool extension that is let's say compatible with our player model pipeline that makes life easier for our content creators. And we're going to flip over now. I could ramble on a lot. If you're interested in procedural character design, I could ramble on about this one, but I'll save that if somebody is interested in it. Put a shout out in the comments, and I'll make an effort to just to do a ramble on in a future episode. But let's move on and forward to see how this is coming out on the other end as far as connectivity goes. Staying on point. Okay, actually, let's go back to Daz Studio, because it's a CPU sucking vampire that things get a little hairy in Unreal 4 unless I turn it off. Okay, so now what we have here is currently is 3 character player models in progress. There's still lots of work to be done. We're not even near close to being finished, and of course Unreal 4 has decided to take this opportunity to start rendering out at that nasty little low resolution. Can I kick it in the butt to get the resolution out? Oh, this is so annoying. Let's see if I hit play. Doesn't correct the problem. Okay, I probably would have to reboot, and I'm not going to do that. You can actually see it kind of jumping in and out, I guess, closer we get. It wants to do it. Come on, come on. Kick it in. Okay, actually Sarah's not looking too bad, so we'll stick over here. I don't have... it does it every once in a while for some reason. I don't know. All of a sudden the resolution... it might be that something's being sucked up as far as resources and something is auto-throttling on me. So, but anyways, Sarah's in not too bad shape. The hair kind of sucks, but it's a proxy. It's in place. I LOD'd the hell out of it just to kind of get an idea of how the LOD system works. I didn't want to use it with the actual working assets, because you don't want to destroy whatever's work in progress inadvertently. But as we move back, she's been something that I've been working with as far as working with LOD requirements, what have you. So she's become our test dummy, so to speak, and is moving forward. As far as you can see, some of the work that Blade Killer has done is very well suited for urban terror. But if we look at her use of material maps and so forth is it's fascinating. It's just fascinating to watch the improvement as we start to hand stuff off of the framework, so to speak. As I mentioned beforehand, this is a long and tedious process, and it's also pretty boring. But obviously some progress has been made, and at some juncture the floodgates will open up once we figured out all the finite details of what has to be done as far as piping assets in and through urban terror in a uniform manner. That'll make for a much more interesting update, I will say. But for those who are interested in doing Daz 3D stuff and piping that into Unreal 4, let me cover some of the. Well, actually, let me cover some of the things that we've been working on. Is what works on framework A should work on framework B, which should work on framework C, and so on and so on, and everything as far as managing any kind of technical requirements. Say, for example, player scaling and what have you, is resolved through the through the development pipeline, and not necessarily a requirement anymore on the part of the content creator, who can focus on just making stuff rather than having to worry about am I using excessive poly counts and so forth, because we can decrease fidelity easily as to the need to create a higher performance envelope as demanded by the final result, of course, of a process. Rambling on, of course, once again, but getting to the point of it all, if I hit play, you can see I can hide the different elements that make up the character as a whole. And it should be interesting to note that the boots that are on Anastasia here are the same boots that we were using for Tom, but are slightly scaled up to fit the framework. So here we have scaling set to 100% across the board, and then slightly upscaling to make the asset element fit Tom. So now we don't have to rebuild the wheel to fit one character to another, and recycle a lot of the different elements that will work with one character, unique in design, will work with another, and can be reconfigured for that purpose. Okay, but if we're talking about the need for optimization, you can see we can decrease the amount of geometry that is inherited into Unreal 4 from Daz 3D as part of the framework, and decrease the resolution, but at the same time still maintain the connectivity to our character development pipeline. I apologize if I'm starting to ramble on again, but it's all about connecting the dots, and things are here are moving along at let's say at a constant clip as to getting the job done, so to speak. Now, for those of you who are Daz Studio fans, ta-da! You can now, this is a direct export from Daz Studio into Unreal 4, containing the full framework that we're currently using as part of our development of Urban Terror. And as you can see, we have a problem here with scale relationships as to the requirements that all our character models have to be the same size and relative scale. In this case, 6 feet tall seems to be the optimum, the buzzer zone, so to speak. But as you can see, we have an asset here that doesn't conform to that scaling requirements. So we can do a lot of this and a lot of that to make things fit, but if we want to, we can just go ahead and let the pipeline handle the problem for us, simply because animation rescales the player to the proper size. Pretty cool, huh? We're actually mirroring right over top of Sarah. And that's what we're looking at, and that's our expectation, that if we bring it in, everything kind of mats over top of one another. It's the same process from A to B to C to D, and etc., etc. Okay, so hopefully I didn't ramble on too much. I think this stuff is interesting, and but I certainly can go into a lot more detail and depth if this is the kind of stuff you're interested in. But on the other side, if you want me to ramble less, then by all means make your wishes known, and I'll try to be accommodating.